Welcome to this week's Business Updates with me, Michael Harding. So this week we're going to talk about, do we have the skill to fill? We've now seen numbers that are showing we have more vacancies than there are people unemployed. And that sounds fantastic. Everybody can get a job, surely, but it's never that simple, is it? Have they got the experience? Have they got the skills? Have they got the training? Just because we've got lots of vacancies, have we actually got the people we need to fill the vacancies? So we can still have vacancies and still have unemployed. One of the things that we need to do is improve our training and development, improve our education processes to deliver people who are skilled at the roles and vacancies we have. So yes, it's great to have lots of vacancies, but do we have the skills in our society to fill those roles? And while we don't, we will still have vacancies and we will still have this increasing wage cost on business. And remember that wage costs only go one way when there is no people to fill your vacancies, and that's upwards. And what that does is puts pressure on your margins. If it puts pressure on your margins, you either have to sell more or put your prices up. So do we have the skills to fill? And if we don't, what are we doing about it? What are we doing as business owners? What can we do to change the narrative and find and train and develop people into our roles? Because that's going to be critical going forward. And within that, if you've got staff who you really value, what are you doing to retain them? What's your retention plans? Now, we've seen Easyjet talk about £1,000 bonus, British Airways, a similar piece of offer in terms of a financial offer for people to stay in roles. Now, this is quite interesting. Part of the problem for the airline industry is they laid off people through the pandemic. The airlines that are actually having the least issue are those who didn't lay people off, who, yes, used furlough, spoke to the team about reducing their pay so that they retain their employment, and they now have less issues with their cabin crew, with their crew in general. So how do you look after your staff? How do you retain them? What do you do to make them realize that they are important? And yes, salary is important, especially in a high inflation time, but there are other things. What about health care? What about holidays? What about birthdays off? What else can you do to ensure that you are supporting your staff to retain them so they're not looking at other venues, other places to work? So retention is critical. Now, whenever you have a problem put in front of you, do you look at it from the correct angle? Do you look at it in a very tunneled vision? So historically, cars, as an example, when they're running out of mileage, they can't do the miles, or run out of fuel, then what used to happen is, or what does happen is, we go to a petrol station and we spend about 5 to 10 minutes with the nozzle in the car, fills it up, drive off. Now need a mortgage to pay for it, that's a separate issue. But to replenish our car's fuel takes 10 minutes. Now, unfortunately for electric vehicles, it can take anywhere up to 40 hours, depending on the system you use. It can be a bit quicker than that, can be 45 minutes at a fast filling, but it's still significantly longer than the existing way that petrol and diesel do. So could you look at it from a different way? Well, here's an example of a Norwegian company who actually changed the whole battery. So you drive, you book appointments, you go in, they take your battery out, you put the new one in and you drive off. So suddenly the refueling of the car can take less than half an hour. They reckon they can do it in 20 minutes. So suddenly that's not that different than filling up with diesel or petrol. Is that a different way of looking at it? And do you use that when you have a problem? In your business, do you only look at it from your perspective? Do you get other people involved? Do you ask for opinions? Do you ask your customers? Or do you look at it from a completely different angle? Because sometimes looking at things from a different angle, in this case, changing the whole battery, why not? That's what you do in a torch. You don't recharge it. You can recharge a torch. You don't recharge your torch. You can recharge a torch. You don't recharge your torch. What you do is you change the battery. So why not for a car? Why can't we do that for a car? Look at problems from different angles. as the famous songline goes, know when to walk away, know when to run. So when problems occur, when something changes, sometimes it's best to cut your losses and move on. We've seen that this week with McDonald's. They've taken a decision not only to close their restaurants in Russia, but actually to end their existence in Russia. So they're selling the sites, they're keeping the brand name, so the brand can't be used over there, which is actually quite sensible. So it's not plagiarized by some other company. However, they've taken a decision that for the medium, short, and even long term, being in Russia is not for them. And sometimes we have to make those decisions in business. It's interesting, showing a bit of my age. I remember when the first Moscow McDonald's opened, there was a huge furore about how it was a way forward. And obviously not long after, the whole of the Russian USSR as it was then started to break down. And there were queues outside McDonald's because it was such a big thing. But McDonald's are leaving Russia. What should you cut your losses on and walk away from? Know when to walk away, know when to run. So in business, in life in general, in the UK, we talk about a north-south divide. But actually in business, well, there will be a north-south divide. I do think there is a big business and small business divide. And what we're seeing now is evidence and information that says that now we're outside the pandemic and the financial support for businesses that was so strong through the last 2.5 years is going. Actually, the ability for small businesses to finance is getting harder and harder because all the lenders are looking at the last 2 years' accounts. Well, the last 2 years' accounts are going to be really difficult. So borrowing money, investing in your business is not getting easier, it's getting harder. Unless you're a big corporate. Big business, no problem. Small business struggling. How do we change that? The small businesses are the lifeblood of our country. We have to support small businesses. So we need to find a way of championing finance, of getting business, financial institutions, the government to wake up to the fact that we need to support small businesses. Because if we don't, we can have lots of big businesses, but they will not employ as many people as small businesses. They will not contribute to the economy in the same way as the small business does. We have to find ways of investing in small businesses. It is a higher risk. We know that. However, it's a risk worth taking, in my opinion. So, working from home, working from the office, hybrid working, working in a shared office environment. The way we work from a business perspective has changed. And Tesco's, being Tesco's, are now looking at how they can capitalise that with a trial and a partnership with IWG. And they're now saying that they're going to put office space in their supermarkets. Now, the photo actually had the office in the fruit and veg aisle. Now, I'm sorry, if I was going to have my office in a supermarket, it wouldn't be in the fruit and veg aisle. It would be in the chocolate aisle. Come on, who doesn't agree? Where would you put your aisle, your desk in the aisle if you were in a supermarket? But really, it just shows a changing face of work. And all this discussion about whether we're going to have working from home, hybrid working, working from the supermarket, we are changing and have changed the way we do business and where we do business, and so we should do. So working from a supermarket aisle, I'm not quite sure that works, and I'm sure that's only a photo for me to sort of talk about, but actually where we work, how we work, and when we work is changing. If you'd like to discuss any of this further, please give me a shout on the details below, and I'd love to have a 30-minute chat with you about any of these pieces of information. My details and my calendar are below. Have a great week. Take care all.